I cannot help asking those who have caused this situation, do you realize now what you've done?
Putin understands this. The rest of the world understands this. And Putin was out there and he issued a stern warning to the world media, saying that the world is heading down a path that could lead to nuclear war. He was speaking with foreign journalists at St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. This was back on June 17th. And he outlined why he thinks a war between Russia and the West is inevitable.
We know year by year what's going to happen, and they know we know. It's only you that they tell these fables and you buy it and spread it to the citizens of your countries. Your people do not feel a sense of the impending danger. This is what worries me. How do you not understand that the world is being pulled in an irreversible direction? That is the problem. But they pretend like nothing's going on. I don't even know how to get through to you people anymore.
Hey, Shalom Hakyam, this is Ariella. First off, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. Once again, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and salutation to you, Hakyam, out there pushing the word of sincerity and truth. And this is part 2 of World War III algorithm, the perfect storm / the fire rises. Now, in the first part, we reviewed some of the things that we'll previously talk about in several other algorithm videos that are leading up, that has led up into a perfect storm economically and a perfect storm geopolitically that will arrange World War III. And we are seeing it happen, man. I've been trying to record this part for a few days now, and there's so much news, so many troop movements, and so many things happening that I'm constantly having to re-edit and redo the video to include new information and new things that are coming out that highlight the fact that the Most High Yahweh has sent forth the Spirit through His Son Yahushua on the planet Earth, man, and it's causing an end of this world as you know it. Okay? So in the previous algorithm video, we talked about the International Monetary Fund. This is a global, a global institution that controls the economic movements, the traffic that's going on in the planet Earth, how things are being traded, the rate of currencies, who's going to stay afloat and who's going to fall. And they're using two separate powers to justify their movements of globalization and bringing everybody together. They're saying if we can't get this together and we can't globalize, your way of life is going to end. The Western hegemonized idea of the American dream of waking up in the morning and going to get you some Starbucks before you go to your job, and 2 point something kids in a car. That way of life will end if you don't take on to these doctrines and institutions and debts that we pass on all across the world, man. All right? And so within that idea that they want to bring, they have the East and the West, man. And it's leading to World War III. And we're seeing it clearly. So I wanted to go over this part, the troop movements and the current news, to highlight and show you how it's nose to nose at this point. All right, you done been through training camp. You've got the combinations. You got your game plan on what you gonna do. Your trainer can't tell you nothing else. It's you in the ring now. All right, and you face to face with this enemy, and it's time to fight. That's what's happening. All right, that's what you see, and everybody can feel it. Okay. This right here is an article. Well, first I want to get a scripture. This is the book of Psalms, the 10th chapter. And I'm going to start at verse 2. It says, "The wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blesseth the covetous, whom the Lord abhorreth." All right, so we're just going to keep reading. "The wicked through the pride of his countenance will not seek after the Most High. The Most High is not in all his thoughts." So you got Esau through the spiritual demon Satan. All right, That's who's ruling these elite, the spiritual demon Satan. All right, and the Most High is not at all in their thoughts. They think that they're going to create their own blessing on the planet Earth, a synthetic rulership, their new world order, where they can control every aspect of everything. Okay. Verse 5, his ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. And that's what these elite do, man. They puffeth at the people, you know. They think that they have the power to destroy, dominate, and recreate as they will. All right. He saith in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. And that's what you see through his propaganda, his media. Even right now, you have the situation going on in Yemen, where in Yemen, you have two different tribes of the Muslim sects, the Sunnis and the Shia. The Shia rebels, which are backed by Iran, who are also a Shia Muslim nation. All right. So you got the Shia rebels that have taken over the capital in certain regions in Yemen, and now you have Saudi Arabia trying to battle that back, who is a Sunni group. So they were trying to aid the different Sunni Muslim groups in that area. If you go and watch the World War III algorithm, Ishmael, I touch on the Sunni versus the Shia and how the U.S. and the West manipulate those borders and those people in order to put in puppet governments, to put in puppet leaders, so they can pass the policies that they need in order to have the petrodollar and reign.
Fast forward more than 1,000 years, and the situation is worse than ever. According to a poll by Pew Research, some 40% of Sunnis don't even regard Shiites as real Muslims. But there's more than theology at work here. Perhaps even more important is geography. 100 years ago, around the time of the First World War, the Middle East was carved up in a Franco-British pact called the Sykes-Picot Agreement. But the Europeans had little interest in understanding the religious and ethnic intricacies of the Middle East when they divided up the region. Still, these arbitrary borders became the blueprint for today's map. The Shiites were divided primarily among Iran, Iraq, and Lebanon, with an offshoot of Shia Islam, the Alawites, in Syria. This area has come to be known as the Shia Crescent. Now let's do a quick who's who in the Middle East. As you've just heard, ISIS, along with Al-Qaeda, are Sunni groups. Hezbollah is Shiite. Osama bin Laden was a Sunni. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad is an Alawite, remember that's a Shiite sect, and the Iranian mullahs are Shiites as well, which helps explain why Iran has gotten involved in the conflict in Syria. And where does America stand in all this? Traditionally, the U.S.'s strongest allies in the region have been Sunni powers, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Jordan. But now the U.S. is pursuing a nuclear deal with Shiite Iran and is working alongside Shiites in Iraq to try to destroy ISIS. But at the same time, Washington still supports Saudi Arabia, which is currently bombing Iranian-backed Shiite rebels in Yemen. Confused yet? One satirist summarized the tangled web of conflicting relationships with this map.
Okay? And so that's what you see today. The U.S. bombed the Shia rebels, saying that previously those Shia rebels had tried to shoot a missile at one of their warships.
A U.S. Navy destroyer drew missile fire. Take a look at that there. While patrolling the Red Sea just off the coast of Yemen yesterday. Although the missiles did not hit the warship, a U.S. defense official says they were definitely targeted. Iranian-backed rebels claim responsibility for the attack, marking yet another close call involving an American ship in that region. Joining me right now is Maverick PAC National Co-Chair Morgan Ortegas. Morgan, you spent a lot of time as an intelligence officer actually in the Middle East, there in Saudi Arabia. What do you make of this story?
Well, I think this is what happens when you embolden the largest sponsor of state terrorism in the world. The Houthi rebels in Yemen, this is no surprise to anyone who's lived and followed the region, are financed, trained, and equipped by the Iranians. So the U.S. government has not come out and said that Iran is behind the attack, but what they're saying is that it looks like the attack happened from entities that, again, are financed, trained, and equipped by the Iranians.
So we basically empowered Iran. We did this deal with them, and this is the way they thank us?
Well, and the real question for me is, Trish, where is the red line? So the administration has shown that they're willing to excuse any behavior by Iran in order to keep this deal in place. But how much is too much? So they can their proxies can shoot at our ships.
And what if
now?
they had actually hit the ship, Morgan?
In my opinion, what the U.S. president, what this administration should do is immediately find out who sent these missiles and retaliate.
The U.S. has carried out its first direct attack against Houthi rebels, hitting 3 radar stations in rebel-controlled territories with Tomahawk cruise missiles. Now, all 3 sites, we believe, have been destroyed. The strikes came in retaliation for failed missile attacks on a U.S. Navy destroyer off the coast. The latest was carried out on Wednesday. The Pentagon maintains the sites were in remote areas where the risk of civilian casualties was low. Washington also insists on the defensive nature of the attack, which was approved by President Obama.
These limited self-defense strikes were conducted to protect our personnel, our ships, our freedom of navigation in this important maritime passageway. The United States will respond to any further threat to our ships and commercial traffic.
Now, the Shia rebels surely know that a conflict with the U.S. will lead to their utter annihilation. Okay, they cannot beat the U.S. Army. They not that stupid. They wouldn't shoot at the U.S. Army, man. They would lose horribly. So it's just more propaganda and reasons for the U.S. to go in and take that region down and control the area of Yemen, which is an important place for ports and all types of traffic, okay? So they move, their mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. That's one example. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. He sitteth in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places doth he murder the innocent. His eyes are privily set against the poor. He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doth catch the poor when he draweth him in his net. Okay? And so that's what happens, man. And so now we're going to see what's going to happen over there in Yemen. If Iran gets involved, this could turn into a regional conflict, which will, quickly escalate into a World War III, But that's another way this thing can pop off. There's so many aspects of this algorithm. It can go in many different directions, man. But we're seeing a direct front from Russia and the U.S. This article right here is from noisyroom.net. It says, it was written on October 4th, 2016. It says, on the precipice of World War III, Russia prepares for war on multiple fronts. Things are quickly spiraling out of control for the U.S. The yuan has basically become the reserve currency now. And that's another reason that they're fighting. That they're fighting over the control of currency and monies. This is how the International Monetary Fund is directing the two sides, man. All right. Now we talked about in the previous algorithm. We talked about how the yuan was added into the SDR basket, and now it's a tradable currency in the world. So that will allow currency avenues to be open that Russia can use, that Iran can use, now that Saudi Arabia can use to trade outside of the petrodollar. This is a problem for the West. Okay? It says the yuan has basically become the reserve currency now. Russia will now head the UN Security Council. And my favorite, Obama has handed the internet to foreign entities comprised of our enemies, the Russian, Chinese, and Iranians. Good times. But the last couple of days have been really interesting and not in a good way. It all revolves around Russia pretty much and their moves towards World War III. We have been in the beginning phases of war for a number of years. The opening salvos have taken the form of intrusive cyber attacks, but a hot war is coming. I no longer have any doubt of that whatsoever. Now let's start with Russia suspending the diplomacy with the U.S. over the conflict in Syria. Not good. The U.S. has announced that they are ending diplomatic engagement with Russia and are reviewing our military options over the Aleppo boondoggle.
Washington has threatened to impose costs on Russia outside the UN over the Syrian conflict. It may mark the starkest warning so far from America, which has been ramping up anti-Russian rhetoric in recent weeks, moving swiftly from criticism to direct threats.
I listened to my colleague from Russia, and I sort of felt a little bit like we're sort of in a parallel universe here.
What Russia is sponsoring and doing is not counterterrorism, it is barbarism.
In this case, I wouldn't rule out multilateral efforts outside of the UN to impose costs on Syria or Russia or others with regard to the situation inside of Syria.
However, just a month ago, US-Russia talks on the Syrian peace process seemed warm and friendly. RT's Caleb Mopan takes us through how it all changed.
Remember when the United States and Russia were keen on sharing their friendship with the world?
Where's the vodka?
Pizza from the American delegation. This is from the Russian.
Well, it's certainly not like that these days.
Extremist groups will continue to exploit the vacuums that are there in Syria to expand their operations, which will include, no question, attacks against Russian interests, perhaps even Russian cities. And Russia will continue to send troops home in body bags.
So how did it get this bad? Well, there are key factors that are being left out as the hateful words and threats get louder. Firstly, the U.S. broke the ceasefire when it killed 60 Syrian army soldiers who were on the front lines battling against ISIL.
Yes, the coalition did hit people on Saturday. We did. A terrible accident.
Secondly, the United States promised to separate the terrorists of al-Nusra from the so-called moderate rebels that they were supporting. Yet months and months later, the U.S.-backed fighters are still fighting side by side the terrorists and extremists.
And it was our challenge, coming to the table, agreeing in Geneva. Our challenge was to try as best we can to reach out to the moderate opposition and make clear to them that they needed to in order for this thing to work.
It's like all the talk of peace has been forgotten.
The next shock group here is the fighting against the regional peer military powers. These are existential for us and our allies. The threat for this type of a fight is a nation state with modern capabilities, aggressive behavior, and engaging in militarized competition. So who would you pick for that one? I think it would be Russia.
I want to be clear to those who wish to do us harm. We'll stop you, and we will beat you harder than you've ever been beaten before.
But if you listen to the words of U.S. officials, it's as if somehow Russia is the one who's being aggressive.
The lunatic warhawks have taken over in Langley, in the Pentagon, and also in the White House. The spokesperson there talking about costs and Russian cities being hit, Russian soldiers coming home in body bags. That to me sounds like an indirect order to terrorists to strike wherever they want to. The thing is, the Battle of Aleppo is the crux of this whole war. When Aleppo is liberated, that is it. Americans know that the game is up. It doesn't matter however much arms and munitions and resupplying they can do to their proxy armies. They're running out of space to fight, and this is why the sort of ratcheting it up of the war of words, I suppose.
In 2015, ISIL was getting more and more powerful, and Russia urged the people of the world to unite against them. After Moscow's bombing campaign, their previously vast territory has diminished. This has awakened previously dormant arguments.
We don't seem to get it. Russia and Iran now own Syria. Whatever we do there now won't be very effective. Russia has Tartus, and now essentially the rest of Syria is being handed to Iran. Russia is prepping an offensive to gain ground in the Baltics and the Ukraine. And even further conquests are on the drawing board. Alright, so when you look out into the global landscape, you can see that Russia, ever since the time of really that the U.S. went into Yugoslavia and had the issue with Kosovo, Russia has always been building and preparing, man. Alright? And that paradigm has allowed really both sides to increase in military might and nuclear influence. But right now, specifically, you see Russia is like, oh, hell no, man. They're battling back. Alright? They're moving troops on different fronts and getting ready for something to go down. Okay? So let's read this real quick in the book of Revelation, the 2nd chapter. I mean the 13th chapter. Revelation 13:2, it says, "And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear." This is what I want to focus on. His feet were as the feet of a bear. This aspect of that beast system is how Russia, through his military might, man, is going to push NATO and that beast system to its demise, to its end. Alright? Ever since the time of the Cold War and the nuclear arms race, man, it's been justified by saying we got to protect ourselves against Russia. That we have to combat the communist interest in the East. Okay?
In this video, I want to share very important information with you guys, which in my view clearly shows that something huge is about to happen in Russia. Okay, let's connect the dots to paint a full picture in our minds. It seems that all countries bordering on the European side with Russia are building security fences in the name to protect those countries from immigrants. Let me ask you, what immigrants? This is a cover story for something much bigger. It is clear that those countries bordering with Russia are building those security fences in the place where WW3 is about to start. What is the point to spend nearly $500 million on the border defense when there is very little flow of any kind of refugees? Here is Russia. The reason why we are looking at this map is that I want to show you that Russia is in deep trouble. I want you guys to have a clear picture in your mind, because all the other information in this video and in my new video will be directly related to this map. To prevent an attack on Russia, Putin is placing all kinds of missiles, including nuclear ones, and missile defense systems all along the border with Ukraine. Putin is placing S-400 missile defense systems around Moscow. Also in Moscow we have mobile vehicles with nuclear missiles patrolling Moscow streets. We have S-400 missile defense systems put there along Finland, and we have S-300 and S-400 missile defense systems here in Kaliningrad. Then we have S-300 missile defense systems stationed in Belarus, and the most recent announcement by Russia to station S-300 and S-400 missile defense systems in Crimea, when we had the biggest NATO military drills and military training on the land, water and in the air. We have Obama and NATO activated the missile defense shield in the United States, in Israel, in Poland, in Romania, in the Sea of Spain, and we have US radars in Norway and in Turkey. On top of that, we have Germany and Netherlands working on their own joint missile defense shield. Then we have one of the Baltic states getting a missile defense shield from the United States. Then we have missile defense systems on ships in the Baltic Sea, in the Black Sea and in the Sea of Spain. When we have the conflict escalating in Ukraine on the border with Crimea, when we have the conflict escalating in Syria, it is obvious that the stage is set for global conflict.
So that's why his feet was the feet of the bear, man. Okay, and we're seeing that clearly play out in the planet Earth. Okay? Let's go back to this article. It says, earlier today, the UN warned Russia on their bombing of Aleppo. That doesn't matter at all to Russia. In fact, they are stepping up their bombings with bunker busters. They want to kill everyone and wipe them off the proverbial map. If we send troops into Syria, Putin is sure to do the same, and it will be game on. We are now considering airstrikes on Syria as I write this. It says top military leaders say this could very well lead to war with Russia. We are already there, boys. But wait, there's more. Moscow announced yesterday that it was ending cooperation with the U.S. on a 16-year-old program for the disposal of weapons-grade plutonium to curb the production of more nuclear bombs. Kerry's ceasefire in Syria was a monstrous joke. In fact, he played right into the Russians' hands. What a tool! A 10-year-old will be better at military strategy than these fools. Next, Russia has deployed an anti-missile system in Syria, an anti-missile system in Syria for the first time, potentially as a means for the Assad government to counter U.S. and allied cruise missile attacks. That should end well. Yeah, baby. Components of the SA-23 Gladiator anti-missile and anti-aircraft system, which has a range of roughly 150 miles, arrived over the weekend on the docks of a Russian naval base along Syria's Mediterranean coastal city of Tartus. Okay? So, you know, he's being facetious at some points, but he's really highlighting, look, man, these guys are not preparing playtime. They are preparing for war.
When Belgium has provided the radiation protection pills to its citizens, we have German, Finnish and Czech Republic governments warning its citizens to stock up on food, water, medicine and other essential supplies for at least 10 to 30 days. When we have the missile defense shields active on both sides on this map, we have 40 million people in Russia taking part in the biggest drill, together with 200,000 professional rescue units and 50,000 vehicles. Why the whole country was training to go to bunkers during October 4th to October 7th. 40 million people who live in Russia, including all levels of the Russian government apparatus, was participating in a civil defense emergency drill. The civil defense team will train for man-made disaster, radiation, chemical and biological protection. While the Russian ministry does not specify what kind of man-caused disaster it envisions, it would have to be a substantial one. For 40 million Russians to take part in the emergency preparedness drill. It is clear that Russia has held its biggest nuclear war drill since the end of the Cold War.
Alright, and they've teamed up with the surrounding Muslim groups and these mixed Arab groups, man. And these Arabs are beating their plowshares into swords, just like the scriptures say. We always go back to this in the book of Joel, because it's happening right in front of our faces. Joel 3:11. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be wakened, be wakened, and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. And there's gonna be war all up and down that region, man. In the valley of Jehoshaphat. That whole area of the Middle East is about to be lit up. Okay? And then there's a video that we did that's on the playlist of the algorithm called Petrodollar. They shall beat their plowshares into swords, man. Because through the petrodollar and them funding the Arabs and funding Ishmael, man, that's how all these weapons have moved in and out of the Middle East, man. And all those weapons were brought into the Middle East to prepare to fulfill this prophecy. Okay? Joel 3:13. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, their wickedness is great. multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near. In the valley of decision. Okay? Missiles are gonna be shot off, man. Tactical nukes. Alright? And then it's gonna culminate into the actual heavy weaponry, man. When full scale nuclear weapons are gonna be launched. Okay? And we're seeing it. We're seeing it happen right before our very eyes. This is another article I want to read on. It was in the Daily Mail. One of the brothers sent it to me. dailymail.co.uk. Where's the date on this thing? Okay. This was written October 12th. Published October 12th. Okay, 2016. Russia orders all officials to fly home any relatives living abroad as tensions mount over the prospect of a global war. Alright, so it says Russia is ordering all of its officials to fly home any relatives living abroad amid heightened tensions over the prospects of global war, as it claimed. Politicians and high-ranking figures are said to have received a warning from President Vladimir Putin to bring their loved ones home to the motherland, according to local media. It comes after Putin canceled a planned visit to France amid a furious row over Moscow's role in the Syrian conflict, and just days after it emerged, the Kremlin had moved nuclear-capable missiles nearer to the Polish border. Former Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev has also warned that the world is at a dangerous point due to rising tensions between Russia and the U.S. Now, I strongly encourage you brothers to come to this. I'll put the link in the description box and listen to what Vladimir Putin had to say. I'm going to add in a couple of clips, but I can't add in all this stuff because it'll make the video too long. All right. So, but I strongly encourage you brothers to go watch this, man. Basically saying, how do y'all don't see that shit is about to pop off? Y'all don't see that we're about to fight? All right. Look at what the U.S. is doing. They're playing games. They're funding terrorists in Syria, causing more war. All right. They're setting up missile defense systems on our border. All right. They're making geoeconomic moves to try to collapse our economy. We got to defend ourselves. Okay?
We know the United States started the entire Arab Spring. There's no use dancing around this. It was Obama and Hillary Clinton that called for the toppling of several national leaders of nations. Ben Ali of Tunisia, Hosni Mubarak of Egypt, Muammar Gaddafi of Libya, Ali Saleh of Yemen, and then they called for Bashar Assad of Syria to be removed. And they called for their removal. Now, the other four all fell, but Russia stepped in and saved Assad. And then the Iranians came also to help save Assad. Meanwhile, ISIS rose up in Iraq, picking up the leftover billions of dollars of hardware, tanks, armored vehicles, rockets and rocket launchers, Toyota Tundras, all kinds of weapons that we left, the United States left, the Obama administration, who pulled out after a 14-month Head Start warning and left these weapons. It was ISIS that picked them up and formed the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria and went on their rampage for the last 2 years, butchering and murdering people. All right, it's just, this is what happened. They picked it up and ran with it. And so here we are today. Syria has all of these armies in it, and it's a total state of chaos. 400,000 people have been killed. Millions have been misplaced and displaced, if you will. And the migrant crisis now is overrunning the European nations. Next is the United States and other nations. And so as we sit here today, if this article, if these reports coming out of the Middle East are correct, then Russia and the United States are no longer in a proxy war. But it's another level.
because that's it's all over the pipeline deal that now has been finalized from Russia through Turkey. The U.S. has to stop that thing, man. So you got geopolitical moves being made and strategies being made to take control of that region. All right, that pipeline that was supposed to go through Saudi Arabia, through Syria, failed.
The United States used to buy oil from Saudi Arabia based on the petrodollar. That is the main thing that is giving the US dollar any value. It's because it is traded globally. Saudi Arabia made a deal with the United States, and the United States used to be the biggest purchaser of oil from Saudi Arabia, and they did this all based off the petrodollar. The Saudi Arabians would have done this, would have kept this up. It would have been a good relationship. But now, with this failed pipeline that not many people know about, but the United States and Saudi Arabia had a planned pipeline that would have gone through Saudi Arabia, through Syria, through Turkey, into Europe, and bypassed Russia's complete monopoly and control of European oil sales. Russia sells a lot of oil to Europe. If Saudi Arabia would have built this pipeline, which was planned years and years ago, they would have undercut Russia and had a direct line to Europe, and Europe would have purchased oil from Saudi Arabia. The only country that stood in the way was Syria. Syria had a very strong alliance with Russia, and Syria said, no, we're not going to throw Russia underneath the bus. We're not going to allow this pipeline to be built years and years ago. And ever since then, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Turkey, and the United States have been giving weapons, arms, money, munitions to Syrian rebels, Al-Qaeda, al-Nusra, to get rid of that president. They're in competition with each other, have been in competition with each other. They tried to undercut each other. It didn't work. And now, with the low oil prices, they are going after China, which is going to piss off the United States. Right now, Saudi Arabia is selling a lot of oil to China. But Russia is doubling down on their oil exports to China, and they have just stolen the Saudis' crown, China, and Russia is now the top oil producer, oil supplier to China. And Russia and China have made an agreement and are now selling this oil on gold-backed yuan, a new currency that China has launched that cannot be traded or used for US dollars.
All right, so now Russia can take advantage of their alliances and basically take over the oil and gas market in the Middle East, which will lead to a complete collapse in the West. All right, they can take all of that over, man, with this new pipeline deal, especially if they can team up with the largest producer in the world, China. That's a growth machine. And they can trade outside of the petrodollar. Now that China has a tradable currency that they can use. Of course, the US dollar will be within that basket, but it's going to suffer greatly by not having a complete monopoly over the oil business.
Big deal time. I'm sitting here with Ashley Banks, and we're going to be talking about Russia and Turkey. Now, an intergovernmental agreement on the Turkish Stream pipeline has been signed in Istanbul, Turkey, following a joint meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Turkish President Erdogan over the long-awaited pipeline project. Erdogan said that Turk Stream would be expedited, as would a $20 billion nuclear deal that was halted last year. Experts say this pipeline may not only benefit Russia and Turkey economically, but it also could strengthen relations between the two countries. Here's what I want to ask you about this deal, Ashley. My question to you is, this pipeline, what's it even going to accomplish?
Yeah, well, for starters, Ed, so this pipeline, it's going to run from the bottom of the Black Sea, from Russia to European countries, but it's going to go from Russia to Turkey, and then it's going to end up continuing on a hub to the Turkish-Greek border. Now, this pipeline is going to be broken down into two parts. So the first branch, the gas is going to go directly to Turkey. Then the second branch, the gas is going to be directed through Turkey to several European countries. Now, It's expected that through building this pipeline, it's going to ensure energy security for the region, and it's going to benefit a lot of European citizens. Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin had mentioned that he and Turkish President Erdogan had come to this consensus through the deal that they were going to basically give discounts for natural gas. So it looks like these prices are going to go down, and it's going to benefit those on the receiving end.
Interesting. You know, and I look at it as potentially a second pipe, you know, because normally it has gone through Ukraine, so it's sort of like an alternative to the Ukrainian route. I mean, when do they think that it's going to be done?
Yeah, well, through the deal, it looks like this pipeline is going to be complete by the end of December 2019. And of course, that is if construction begins next year, at the end of next year, December 2017. Of course, construction could be pushed back, which would push the completion back. But right now, we're looking at completion to end in a little over 3 years from now. Now, back in December of 2014, this project was first announced when the Russian President Vladimir Putin, he went and visited Turkey after the South Stream route that was supposed to go through Bulgaria was canceled. Now, a lot changed after that Russian jet was downed by the Turkish Air Force, but this project has since been revived since Turkey decided to publicly apologize for downing that jet.
Yeah, so that's interesting that you mentioned that, because obviously you have this nuclear deal that is getting off the ground too. Is that the reason that this nuclear deal is actually coming back into the play?
It is. That apology has a lot to do with this nuclear deal. In addition to the pipeline being created, we're also looking at Russia creating Turkey's first nuclear power plant. Now, both leaders Erdogan and Putin agreed that they were going to accelerate this project. Now, the nuclear plant will be comprised of about 4 units, and by the end of the year 2025, these units will be up and running.
Okay, so clearly a fight is getting ready to happen. They're fighting over this, man. The elite has got these two sides coming against each other. All right. It says, according to the Russian site Zanak.com, administration staff, regional administrators, lawmakers of all levels and employees of public corporations have been ordered to take their children out of foreign schools immediately. Failure to act will see officials jeopardizing their chances of promotion, local media has reported. The exact reason for the order is not yet clear, but Russian political analyst Stanislav Bukowski is quoted by the Daily Star as saying, this is all part of the package of measures to prepare elites to some big war. Relations between Russia and the U.S. are at the lowest since the Cold War and have soured in recent days after Washington pulled the plug on Syria talks and accused Russia of hacking attacks. Okay? The Kremlin has also suspended a series of nuclear pacts, including a symbolic cooperation deal to cut stocks of weapons-grade plutonium. Just days ago, it was reported that Russia had moved nuclear-capable missiles near to the Polish border as tensions escalated between the world's largest nation and the West. The Iskander missile sent to Kaliningrad, a Russian enclave in the Baltic Sea between NATO members Poland and Lithuania, are now within range of major Western cities, including Berlin. Polish officials, whose capital Warsaw is potentially threatened, have described the move as of the highest concern. Okay, so we're seeing everything move perfectly into a hot war. All right, and this is what the scriptures describe what happened, man. Let's get this real quick. Job, the 20th chapter, and I want to start at verse 15. This is talking about the wicked. It says, he has swallowed down riches, and he shall vomit them up again. The Most High shall cast them out of his belly. All right. He shall suck the poison of asps. The viper's tongue shall slay him. He shall not see the rivers. He shall not see the rivers, the floods, and brooks of honey and butter. All right. So his dream and his achievement to take that blessing is he's gonna vomit that up. All the substance that he's eaten down from chiefly the nation of Israel and all the other nations. Okay. It says, that which he labored for shall he restore, and shall not swallow it down. According to his substance shall the restitution be. He shall not rejoice therein. All right. So the land of milk and honey and rulership and dominion over the planet Earth, he's gonna give that up, man, and the righteous gonna take that. Verse 19, because he hath oppressed and hath forsaken the poor, because he hath violently taken away an house which he builded not. All right. Chiefly our house. All right. Chiefly the tabernacles unto Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. All right. The Most High and his Son. All right. Land of Israel, man. Job 20:20. Surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly. He shall not save of that which he desired. There shall none of his meat be left. There shall no man look for his goods. In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. We always go into that word wicked. When you look it up, the word goes back to laborer. All right. And it was the nation of Israel that built up this society. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Right. So you look at this word, and the word is amal. And the word means laborer, sufferer, wretched one. All right. Laborer, workman, sufferer. Okay. So that's what that's talking about there in Job, the 20th chapter and the 22nd verse. Okay. When it says that the hand of the wicked shall come upon him. Basically those who work in basically the people that the richest was taken from. All right. That the wicked have swallowed down. It says in verse 23, when he is about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. All right, so right now you have the elites eating. They're eating in their doctrine. They're eating and taking up the resources and taking basically even the souls of the people across the planet Earth, man. But the Most High is going to put an evil thought in these men to shoot missiles off, man, to go to a war, to take it to the extreme. All right, that's why we say this is the Most High's algorithm, because everything is playing into biblical prophecy. Okay. Verse 24, he shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of steel shall strike him through. That bow of steel is talking about those missiles prophetically. It is drawn and cometh out of the body. All right. Yea, the glittering sword cometh out of his gall. Terrors are upon him. All right. And so when them things come out and they're launched from the bodies of ships, from the bodies of silos, man, it's going to bring terror upon all across the planet Earth, man. The whole earth is going to reel to and fro, as the scriptures say in the book of Isaiah. Okay. Verse 26, all darkness shall be hid in the secret places. A fire not blown shall consume him. It shall go ill with him that is left in his tabernacle. All right. And that fire not blown, man, is going to be that thermonuclear fire that's destroyed, man. That just consumes and destroys everything in its path. The heavens shall reveal his iniquity, and the earth shall rise up against him. The increase of his house shall depart, and his goods shall flow away in the day of his wrath. This is the portion of a wicked man from the Most High, and the heritage appointed to him by the Most High. All right, so this is appointed for those wicked elite, man, that are working with the spirit through the spiritual demon Satan to do these works on the planet Earth. All right. The Most High is going to put an evil thought in this man, and we're going to see his destruction. All right. So, I just wanted to read those couple of scriptures, go over those couple of points. I'm going to add in a lot of clips. Lord willing, this is edifying. You brothers can see clearly what's happening. Please add more scriptures into the comment board. With that, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and salutation to you brothers out there pushing the word of sincerity and truth. Hey, man. This might be it.
Everything seems to be lining up. All the recent movement of the military vehicles, all those videos on YouTube on UN vehicles put in different places in the United States, the potential global economic collapse which will start in Europe this year, referendum in Italy in December, countries in Europe telling to their citizens to prepare for something big, but they wouldn't tell us what is about to happen, FBI warning of a major event, preparation for martial law and riots in the US, and this not usual warning test of the United States national broadcast system, not to mention the election inside the United States that will change this world forever.